Welcome to an incredible story that will inspire you. Today, we are diving into the surreal world of Salvador Dalí, a man who transformed dreams into reality, blurred the lines between imagination and existence, and left an unforgettable mark on the world of art. As you listen, focus on the new phrases and vocabulary introduced throughout the story. This is not just about learning English, it's about learning how creativity, persistence, and self-expression can lead to greatness. So, grab a notebook, pay close attention, and let's embark on this bizarre, fascinating, and inspiring journey through the life of Salvador Dalí, the master of surrealism. The birth of a genius. Salvador Domingo Felipe Jacinto Dalí, I Dominic, was born on May 11, 1904, in the small town of Figueres, Spain. From the very beginning, he was extraordinary not just in his art, but in his personality, thoughts, and beliefs. Before Dalí was born, his parents had another son, also named Salvador, who had died as a baby. When the new Salvador was born, his parents were convinced that he was a reincarnation of their lost child. This idea deeply influenced young Dalí and made him believe he was destined for something greater than ordinary life. As a child, Dalí was imaginative, dramatic, and unpredictable. His parents supported his artistic talent, giving him his first painting lessons when he was very young. However, Salvador was not like other children. He was known for his unusual behavior, sometimes throwing tantrums, sometimes staring at objects for hours, as if lost in another dimension. At the age of 5, Dalí saw a painting by Diego Velázquez, the famous Spanish painter. This moment was life-changing. He knew he wanted to be an artist. But not just any artist, he wanted to be the greatest artist the world had ever seen. Dalí's early struggles and rebellion. As a teenager, Dalí's talent was undeniable. His paintings were unlike anything his teachers had seen before. At the age of 17, he enrolled at the Royal Academy of Fine Arts in Madrid, where he quickly became famous not only for his artistic skills, but also for his eccentric personality. Dalí dressed differently from other students. He wore long hair, extravagant clothing, and often walked with a cane, as if he were already a legendary artist. His confidence was borderline arrogance. He declared that he was already more talented than his professors. But there was a problem. Dalí was not interested in following the rules. He often argued with his teachers and refused to paint in traditional styles. He wanted to explore surrealism, an emerging movement that focused on dreams, the subconscious mind, and irrational imagery. In 1926, after repeated conflicts with his professors, Dalí was expelled from the academy. His response: "No one here is qualified to teach me anything." Instead of giving up, Dalí saw this as an opportunity to create his own artistic identity. The rise of a surrealist legend. Dalí's journey into surrealism began when he moved to Paris in the late 1920s. There, he met famous surrealist artists like André Breton, Louis Buñuel, and René Magritte. These artists were experimenting with ways to bring the dream world into reality, and Dalí was immediately drawn to this idea. In 1929, Dalí painted one of his first truly surrealist works, The Great Masturbator. But it was in 1931 that he created his most iconic painting, The Persistence of Memory. This masterpiece features melting clocks draped over strange landscapes, symbolizing the fluidity of time and the power of dreams. The painting shocked the art world and solidified Dalí's reputation as a genius of surrealism. Dalí once said, "Surrealism is me." He did not just paint surreal images, he lived them. His public persona became as famous as his paintings. The Dalí persona, a living work of art. Dalí believed that being an artist was not just about creating paintings, it was about creating an entire identity. He grew out his mustache into a thin, curled shape, inspired by the 17th century Spanish painter Diego Velázquez. He dressed in flamboyant suits, carried a pet anteater, and spoke in a theatrical, exaggerated manner. He was not afraid to be seen as bizarre, In fact, he embraced it. One of his most famous quotes was, "Every morning upon awakening, I experience a supreme pleasure." That of being Salvador Dalí. Dalí also expanded his surrealism beyond paintings. He worked on films, sculptures, furniture designs, fashion, and even advertisements. He collaborated with Walt Disney and Alfred Hitchcock, bringing surrealism to Hollywood. Dalí wanted his art to be everywhere in people's dreams, on their clothes, in their homes, and even in their movies. Controversy and exile. Dalí's personality and fame also brought criticism. In the 1930s, many surrealist artists were involved in left-wing politics, but Dalí refused to commit to any political ideology. This led to his expulsion from the official surrealist movement. André Breton, the founder of surrealism, even created an anagram of Dalí's name, Avida Dollars, suggesting that Dalí was to focus on making money. But Dalí didn't care. He continued creating, shocking, and expanding his artistic universe. During World War II, Dalí and his wife Gayla moved to the United States, where he became even more famous. He published books, designed jewelry, and even created a surrealist pavilion for Disneyland. Dalí once again proved that art was not just about paintings, it was about pushing the boundaries of human imagination. The final years of a surreal genius, in the 1960s and 70s, Dalí's health began to decline, but he never stopped creating. His wife Gayla, who had been his muse and greatest supporter, passed away in 1982. This deeply affected Dalí, and he withdrew from public life. On January 23, 1989, Salvador Dalí passed away at the age of 84. He was buried in his hometown of Figueres. In a museum he had designed himself, the Dalí Theatre Museum, a surrealist masterpiece in its own right. Lessons from Dalí's life. Salvador Dalí's journey teaches us that 1. Creativity has no limits. Dalí showed us that art is not just about technique, it's about vision, imagination, and daring to be different. 2. Embrace your uniqueness, instead of hiding his eccentricity. Dalí turned it into his greatest strength. 3. Never be afraid to dream. Dalí once said, "I don't do drugs. I'm drugs." He believed that life itself could be surreal, magical, and dreamlike. His influence remains everywhere today, from modern fashion and advertising to film, music, and digital art. Dalí proved that reality is just a matter of perception. And sometimes, the world needs a little bit of surrealism. Final thought. What do you dream about? What is your version of surrealism? Dalí's life teaches us that the world is shaped by those who dare to imagine the impossible. So, dare to dream, dare to create, dare to be different. After all, as Dalí himself said, have no fear of perfection, you'll never reach it.